curriculum instruction, and we overseeing this to give this presentation. Dr. Cavazos.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, Dr. Escobedo, and members of the board. I want to thank our staff, Mr. Garcia and Ms. Renfro, for their due diligence in this work, and we're actually going to have Ms. Renfro come to the podium and do the presentation. Ms. Renfro.
Good evening, Board President Dr. Escobedo, Superintendent Gonzalez, and board members and audience. It is with great pleasure today that we've fulfilled the final part of the requirements of the Texas Educator Excellence Award grants for Cycle 2. As you have probably learned by now, the purpose of these grants is to provide a system of financial incentives to our educators. Campuses became eligible based on ranking in the top 1/2 of the highest percentages of educationally disadvantaged students, and were then ranked based on their either rating of exemplary or recognized, or being in the top quartile with respect to comparable improvement in math and reading. And funding was then provided to the top several hundred campuses based on these rankings. The Texas Education Agency required that these grants be developed primarily by our teachers, approved by a majority of their campus staff, and then approved by a vote of the District Education Improvement Committee. All these criteria have been met. At this time now, those campuses' plans are being presented to the board as required by the grant. Just as a reminder, 75% of these funds must be given to our teachers, and these are designed to help these teachers have an incentive to improve student performance in objective, quantifiable measures, as well as based on their collaboration activities. The remaining 25% of this funding may be used in a variety of ways. However, all of our campuses have elected to use them as incentives to other paraprofessionals and certified staff members. The 11 campuses represented here tonight for this happen to be Rivetta High School, Garcia Middle School, Champion Elementary, Del Castillo Elementary, Egley Elementary, Gallegos Elementary, Garza Elementary, Palm Grove Elementary, Martin Elementary, Skinner Elementary, and Southmost Elementary. We're very proud of those campuses and look forward to working with them as they go forward in accomplishing their grants this year. If the board has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you, or we also have campus representatives here to answer specifics.
Questions or comments from the board?
One question.
Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo. Mr. Gonzalez, the only question I have is, once again, the teachers that were there on those campuses and they've been moved to another, they lose out on it, right?
I believe that's correct, and that's part of the grant criteria, and that's sort of stated by the state, not controlled by local.
Oh, okay, so there's nothing we can do about it.
It depends in part on the campus plan, but since these are one-year grants, if they aren't on the campus during the 1 year in which they implement and meet the eligibility criteria, then they would not be eligible to receive the grant. Right. This is different than the original 3-year grant.
Oh, okay. So it's only the fiscal year then. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Renfro?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Renfro, and congratulations to our campus that continue to excel. Dr. Montoya, welcome. Moving on to item 2, presentation of financial report for July 2007. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. This is our first financial report for this fiscal year, and if there's any questions, either myself or Mr. Sanchez will be glad to answer them.
Questions or comments from the board? If not, we move on to item 3, presentation on report from BISD Bond Oversight Committee. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. You well know the Bond Oversight meets on the first Thursday of each month, and they meet and they go over items, and usually either Mr. Tapia or Mr. Sanchez, on occasion I will make those meetings, and then they report back to the board anything they might have or any concerns. So at this time I'd like to call Mr. Mike Rodriguez, which is the chairperson for the Bond Oversight Committee, to do a presentation. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. I'm here on behalf of the Bond Oversight Committee as the chairman to make the monthly report to you of what we have been reviewing. I know it's been a couple of months since we've been here. However, much of the work during the summer was devoted to receiving financial reports with respect to the expenditures for the bond funds. Most of those bond fund expenditures dealt primarily with architectural services, and the architects, as you are well aware, are in the process of rendering their designs to drawings. And as a result, the Bond Oversight Committee did not do a lot of work during the months of the summertime, we just simply received these financial reports. However, last month, the PBK, the architects who were selected to handle the project wherein the middle school and the elementary school campuses were combined into one piece of property, presented their initial designs to the Bond Oversight Committee. The designs were very, very good, as we expect from architects of that ability. There were some issues that they're grappling with right now with respect to ingress and egress to the site, specifically dealing with Alton Glore Road. But we're fairly certain right now that they will have those issues hammered out and ironed out prior to final planning of that site. With respect to the Bond Oversight Committee's receipt of expenditure of funds, as I mentioned earlier, most of the funds that have been expended to date have been expended with the architects as they're working on their designs. However, there were some expenditures and have been some expenditures made with respect to actual work being done on the wing additions, and that was all planned. Everything seems to be in order. We're receiving very good response from all of the questions that we have from Mr. Sanchez as well as Mr. Tapia. Both Mr. Sanchez and Mr. Tapia are very, very prepared for our meetings. We appreciate that as members of the Bond Oversight Committee. We appreciate their help, and we appreciate their knowledge with respect to answering all the questions that we do have. Lastly, today, I need to report pursuant to our bylaws that Mariano Bean Ayala has submitted his resignation to me as chairman of the Bond Oversight Committee. I know he's already called you, Dr. Escobedo, to inform you, but it's required under our bylaws that I make this formal announcement to you, Mr. Gonzalez, so that you could then start the process to have somebody new appointed. Mr. Ayala regrets to leaving the committee. However, he had to do so because he's now taken over his new position as president and CEO of the Brownsville Convention and Visitors Bureau, and he needs to devote most of his time to his new job. And we're sorry to see him go. He was a very valuable member of the committee, but he's now serving the citizens of Brownsville in another capacity. And we look forward to whoever you appoint next, Dr. Escobedo. That's all we have. We are under the impression, and believe it to be right, that the next coming months are going to be filled with a lot of work for us as the architects begin to move out of the design phase and we start to bid projects out. We've been told that by Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Tapia, and we expect to be very, very busy with a lot lengthier report the next time we come to you. But I'm here ready to answer any questions should you have any.
Questions or comments from the board? Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. We appreciate the time and effort you invest into the Bond Oversight Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, for all your work. However, I do want to say that as we go through, I would invite the Bond Oversight Committee members to join the Facilities Committee when we present everything to the Facilities Committee. As soon as Mr. Lehman gets back, which is the chairperson of the Facilities Committee, we're going to have a Facilities Committee meeting to bring you all completely up to date on where we're at. And we ask the Bond Oversight to be here at the same time as a joint meeting, if they can, a special meeting, and be able to put everything together and ask a lot of questions to the architect by both the board members and the Bond Oversight Committee. So we're looking forward to that.
Yes, sir. We've been advised by Mr. Sanchez to do so and to be ready to be present at that meeting, and the board will receive the renderings that we've seen recently at that Facilities Committee.
Good. We look forward to working together.
Yes, sir. Same here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Moving on to item 4, presentation of proposed vehicle purchases district-wide for fiscal year 2007-2008. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. As you see in the backup, we're going to go ahead and pursue the purchase of vehicles that we need in the district. They have all been budgeted for. They all have budgeted funds attached to them. If you have any questions on those, we'd be more than glad to answer them.
Questions, comments from the board? If not, we move on to item 5, a presentation on reporting of fees paid to cooperatives, including memberships, management, and transaction fees for fiscal year 2006-2007. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. This is now a new requirement of law. We have to tell you what we pay for fees for co-ops and so on and so forth. So we're putting that out to you. If you have any questions at this time, we'd like to answer them. Or if you have any questions later on, we'd be glad to answer them. However you want to do it. But this is 0607. This has already been paid. This is not to be paid, but already been paid.
Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo. The only thing that caught my eye was Region 1 Library. The fee's $145,000. We only purchased $789,000. Why is the fee so high versus Region One food, we spend 10 million in purchases, and we only spend 16,891.
If I may, Dr. Escobedo, that's the same question I asked. So you're not the only one that's wondering. And the thing about it is this, Mr. Powers, there's more than fees included in there. There's a lot of services. And so I think Dr. Cavazos got together with Mr. Rosas today, and what we will do on the Friday letter is send you out exactly the breakdown of the fees and the services on that. It's more services than fees.
Okay, that hits you on the fees versus, okay.
Yes.
That's good to know.
But they have to put it all together into one.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we move on to B, Standing Board Agenda Items, 6, Board Calendars. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. There's a few things that we're going to go over concerning the board calendar. And of course, as always, our staff will be sending out reminders on things that you need to do, but I also like to do it for the general public. We do have this week on Thursday, we have a big welcome back district parental meeting at 9:30 a.m. at the Brownsville Event Center. So I'm looking forward, if board members can come at 9:30, we'd be glad to have you there. It's getting our parents involved. It's welcoming back our parents, and we have a big event there. Also, I know it's not there, but at 6 p.m., board training in Harlingen. Board members, you need to be here at 5 if you want to ride. If you're not going to ride with us, then you can drive to Harlingen on your own, but I'll have a Suburban ready to go at 5 o'clock. We'll be leaving at 5:05. It's this Thursday also. This Thursday. It's a requirement. It's a legislative update, so please be there. Next Wednesday, the 26th, is BISD College Parent Night, 6:30 p.m. at the Brownsville Event Center. It's always nice to inform the parents about colleges and what's going on there is concerning their kids. So we look forward to being there, and if any of you can be there, I'd be glad to be with you. I will be making a visit there also. Of course, the 27th, 28th, and 29th, all of us, I think, are going to the TASB convention in Dallas, so looking forward to that. On the Saturday, October the 6th, it's a very important date. It's the Buddy Fun Meet at Sam Stadium, and we hope to be there. And it starts at 8 o'clock, and looking forward to everybody being there at the Buddy Fun Meet. And then for the first time since I can remember, we will be having open house at the time we don't have a board meeting. It'll be on the 8th, 9th, and 11th of October. On the 8th, it'll be middle school open house. On the 9th is the high school open house. And on the 11th is elementary school open house. So I'm looking forward to being to all the open houses, and this time it won't interfere with any board meetings. We're able to get it right. So we're looking forward to all these things that are coming up, and if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Questions, comments from the board? Mrs. Galvan.
Yes, I'd like to have a curriculum meeting
Sure.
in October.
Anytime, do you want me to just select the date and let you know? Okay.
Yes, please.
Pat?
Any other question that comes from the board? If not, we move on to item 7, public audience. Do we have public audience? Yes, we do. The next item on our agenda is a public comment period. This is a time for citizens, staff, or students to provide their comments to the board. Statements and questions from the audience will not be permitted during the portion of the meeting, so please let us hear from you now if you wish if you have your comments to present. To have your comments heard tonight, your name and the subject matter of your comments must appear in the sign-in sheet, which is located in the rear of the meeting room. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes to complete his or her comments, and with all due courtesy, I will strictly enforce this time limit. If a group of people want to be heard on the same topic, the board asks that they designate a spokesperson to avoid needless repetition. The board has adopted rules to preclude the abuse of open forum by, for example, anyone uselessly repeating the same comment or complaint meeting after meeting. All participants must understand that if your comment, in my judgment, constitutes a complaint against an employee or an officer, I will interrupt you and ask you to and direct you to proceed with BISD formal grievance procedures, be that DGBA, FNG, or GF local. With those cautions in mind, we will now be glad to hear your comments. Our first speaker is George Borrego, and there is no subject to be discussed.
Good evening, Dr. Escobedo, Board President, board members, and administration. My name is George Borrego. I'm representing the Association of Brownsville Educators, which is affiliated with the Texas State Teachers Association and the National Education Association. We'd like to thank the board for a job well done in selecting the best TPA and insurance carrier for BISD. Special thanks to Mr. Ruben Cortez for assuring the district will receive all the discounts and guarantees regarding our insurance contract. So let's go forward with this new insurance company. Change is sometimes good. Last week when Mr. Alegria spoke thanking departments for getting BISD off to a good start, he unintentionally left out the security department, and that was not on purpose, and they are doing a great job, and they're starting to staff our elementaries, and we also recognize their effort. The Association of Brownsville Educators will also continue to work with administration on finding a solution to increase all BISD stipends. The association will work hard to ensure that all of our employees receive increases in their stipends for the 2008-2009 school year, when we start talking about the budget. And finally, the grant from the governor, while we will accept the checks and we will cash them as soon as possible, we still do not agree with the program. I was sitting in the teacher's lounge this afternoon, or during lunch, and there was a very disappointed teacher there who apparently during the school year had missed a couple of meetings, department meetings, and therefore got a call during the summer that he had not qualified for the grant, even though the scores were up and all other indicators were there. And he could not, or chose not, to come in during the summer to make up that time. That grant is designed to create these kinds of problems. Problems between teachers and staff, and it's not good. You already give us incentive, don't you? Every 25th, I get my incentive. And you've been generous with our raises for the past few years, so we're doing well in that respect. Our incentive is there. And our other incentive you could never affect, and that is our love for the children and the fact that we're there most of the time because of the children that we take care of. So that's our incentive, not the money that the governor grants us. It's divisive, and it's not good. So what do I say? Thanks for the money, but we're going to cash it, but we really didn't want it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Moises Gonzalez, School Zones and School Textbooks.
Good afternoon, board members and the general public present today. My name is Moises Gonzalez. I come to here today as a father of 3 children and one 17-year-old who my wife and I are legal guardians of, and attend BISD. We've made some efforts, Superintendent, to try to meet with you, and unfortunately I know that at the beginning of the year you're very busy, and I wanted to bring some of these issues to you in your office, but I think it's important that the board and the general public be made aware of some of the issues that concern my wife and I as parents of children in BISD. For example, there's still some students that are attending class and have portables, and we're concerned about that because fortunately we've had one of the wettest years in recent years, but that also exposes the children to be getting wet, and also some security issues with the portables being away from the building. Those are issues that still concern us. I've heard several board members campaign on those issues, and I hope that they still work towards resolving those issues with the portables. Also, Dr. Escobedo, if you could warn me when I have one minute left, please, I'd appreciate that. And we're concerned with substitute teachers for entire semesters, and that doesn't provide for the continuity and the advantages of having a dedicated teacher for that class. And we've had that situation with some of our children. Another thing that we've been adamantly working on for the past 2 years is to have a school zone designated for Ortiz Elementary and Alton Gore. We have all these projects, and we have a bond oversight committee looking at the schools that are going to be put, and there's going to be all this traffic and everything going on Alta Gloria. Well, Alta Gloria is 55 miles an hour right now, and the main entrance to Ortiz Elementary, there is no school zone. There is no reduction in speed limit. 55 miles an hour. We have buses lining up in the turning lane while traffic is zipping by at 55, 60, 65 miles an hour. This issue, I remember my wife mentioned this to you, Mr. Superintendent, in one of the coffees you had, and we hope that you continue to look into it. We contacted TxDOT, we contacted city officials, and unfortunately, everybody points the finger at each other. Says this isn't our responsibility, it's TxDOT. TxDOT says it's not our responsibility, it's the city. City contact BISD. BISD says we can't do anything about it because it's a state highway. It's TxDOT. I don't want someone to blame. I just want someone to take care of it. Okay, this is a safety issue. And if we don't have safety for our children, then everything else is unimportant. Primary safety issue. So please have someone look into that. It's something that's been going on. And the ultimate responsibility, in my opinion, is the school boards, because you are linked to the other government entities to get the job done, to get that school zone designation. I also received a phone call from the Galaxy program. That bothered me quite a bit because my child wasn't able to participate in the Galaxy program because in the Fine Arts Division because there was not a certified music teacher at Ortiz Elementary. Well, I come to know that vacancy has been there for 2 years. And for 2 years, we had not been able to recruit a certified music teacher for that position. And therefore, my child won't be able, and other children who want to participate in the Fine Arts program, won't be able to because there's a teacher in that position, just that the Galaxy program, from what I was explained, requires a certified music teacher. Student-teacher ratio, my 17-year-old sister-in-law, who were legal guardians, mentioned to me they have 45 children in the classroom, to the point where some of them have to sit on the floor. Now, I understand there's scheduling conflicts and they're working to alleviate that, but the issue is that they still have too many kids in the classroom, where some of them don't have desks, and they're being